Good evening. If you would stand with me for the invocation and pledge of allegiance, please. This evening we have Reverend Bill Brown from the Vienna Baptist Church with us. He's going to give the invocation this evening. But before we do that, this past week we lost the most senior member of the Vienna employees. Mr. Lee Emmerich passed away. And Lee was an absolutely wonderful human being, a fabulous employee, and just a great person to be around. And so if you would, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence in honor of Lee. And then, Bill, if you'd give the invocation, please. Thank you.
Heavenly Father, I thank you for this opportunity I have to be present with these that have chosen to be servants of the people of this city. I thank you, Lord, for the passion that you've given them to help us be a better place. And I just pray, Lord, that as they do the business that you've called them to do, that you give them wisdom, I pray that you give them hearts for the people that they're committed to serving, and I pray that the city here would respect their leadership and continue to work to make this a city that's a great place to live. I pray all this in Christ's name. Amen.
Kim, we're back around to you this evening.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chris, did you turn the microphone on?
Test.
There we go. All right. This evening we have two people that have requested to speak to council. So the first up is Mark Wagner.
Thank you for having me. Okay, thank you for having me. And I would just like to know if there was something that could be done to address the street in front of my house at 604 42nd Street. Part of the street itself has dropped approximately an inch to maybe an inch and a quarter clear across. The water lays in front of my house, and during the last snowstorm there was so much ice that I myself slipped, my wife slipped, and one of my neighbors slipped there. A few years ago, the plow came down through there with his blade down, and when he got in front of our house, he hit that spot where the street has dropped. It raised the back of his truck up, and almost in our driveway, almost hit my wife's car. I know it would be a tough thing to do, but I wanted to know if there was something that could be addressed about it. Thank you.
Mr. Wagner, I looked at your issue this afternoon, and I've spoken with Craig Metz, our Public Works Director, and he's asked for the fellows to go take a look. I saw the water that's standing there, so we're going to try to do some kind of a temporary fix. We can't fix it permanently now because of the weather.
Right.
But I did see the water that was standing in that turn right there by your driveway, so we'll see if we can't make some temporary repairs.
Okay, thank you. And I do have pictures of some of the ice, because
I believe you. I mean, the water's still there, so.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you.
Yes, sir. Brenda Powell.
Yes, my name is Brenda Powell, and I live at 1409 31st Street in Vienna. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening. Something that I wanted to talk about was actually to start off with the kayak grant that has been awarded to the city. I think it's a wonderful thing that it did go through. It is a lot of money, but I know that the grant will cover. I don't know how much of the putting in the the launch, kayak launch. But hopefully the city will have money to be able to take care of that. But the big issue also with starting with things on Spencer's Landing is there are restrooms that are really needed before things really start going down there. Actually, they've been needed all along, but it's something that hasn't happened. So I hope that it'll be put foremost, you know, to get those restrooms down there for the public for when they go down. Another thing is that I wanted to get to the agenda. There's quite a few things on there this evening. I didn't know whether some of it could have been divided up and maybe put on another night. It makes for a long agenda. And something I wanted to mention, and I've mentioned it before, and I'd like to mention it again too, is about the competitive bidding when it comes to things being brought forth in the city for whatever case it may be of whatever that looking at projects or whatever you're doing. I think we really do need competitive bidding. I know that to actually help support local businesses is important, but we also need to understand too that to save money wherever we can. So that's all I wanted to say this evening. Thank you very much.
I'd like to call to order this regular session of the Vienna City Council for February the 25th, 2021. Let the record reflect that I've taken roll that all members of council are present with the exception of Councilman Bibby. Having a quorum, we will proceed. The minutes from the special council meeting held on February the 18th, 2021 have been printed, posted, and circulated. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If there are no objections, then the minutes will stand approved as posted. The report of the treasurer will be given at the first meeting in March. And with that, we move into our agenda for this evening. We have no unfinished business. Under new business, the first item we have is general fund budget revision number 3. Councilman Leach.
Department here is Tree Commission, account 600-68 under contributions. This is for the Trek Vienna project, current budget $19,000. Proposed increase to that budget of $20,000. This is what was discussed before to obtain a match for the Tree Commission, making the revised budget $39,000.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of general fund budget revision number 3.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve general fund budget revision number 3. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of general fund budget revision number 3, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. The second item this evening is an internal budget revision from the Tree Commission and data processing. Councilman Leach.
And of course, the Tree Commission follows the prior approved motion. This is transfer from contract service contributions for the Trek Vienna program. Budget before the change, $44,400. Debited $19,000, leaving a balance of $25,400. Being transferred to contributions. Before budget, $39,000, increase of $19,000, bringing that budget total to $58,000. The second line item is under data processing, and again, this is an internal budget. Under 439-23 under professional services. This is the switches for the new network that Chris came and spoke to us about. Budget before the change was $23,175. Debit of $15,000, leaving the remaining budget at $81,775, and that's being transferred to capital outlay equipment, which is account 439.59. Budget before the change was $55,275. Net increase $15,000, bringing that budget to $70,275 to allow for the purchase of the switches for the new network.
And that would be identified as internal budget revision number 1. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of internal budget revision number 1.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve internal budget revision number 1. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of internal budget revision number 1, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Third item on our agenda this evening is a bid approval from the general fund for flower planting and maintenance. Councilman Leach.
Sealed bids for the flower planting and maintenance of various areas in the city, which Jack Mathers has described in prior meetings. Were open January 29th, 2021 at 10 a.m. with the following results. Single bid, Scott's Landscaping was received at $22,689. After careful review of the bid proposals, the recommendation for council approval from the Budget and Finance Committee for the flower planting and maintenance is Scott's Landscaping in the amount of $22,689. Funding for this project will be from the city's general fund line item 01-579-5541, pending council approval. Amount of a funding request will be for the entire project.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion for the acceptance of a bid from Scott's Landscaping in the amount of $22,689.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the bid from Scott's Landscaping for $22,689. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the bid, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 4 this evening is a bid approval from the general fund for the street sweeper. Councilman Leach.
Sealed bids for the purchase of a mid-sized street sweeper were opened on January 29th, 2021 at 9 a.m. with the following results. One bid from Golden Equipment in the amount of $194,625. After a careful review of the bid proposal, the recommendation for council's approval for the purchase of the mid-sized street sweeper from Golden Equipment in the amount of $194,625. Funding from this project will be from the general fund 01-570-6559 and will be pending financing, a budget revision for the 2020-2021 financing portion, and city council approval.
I'll entertain a motion for the acceptance of the bid from Golden Equipment in the amount of $194,625 for the purchase of a street sweeper.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the bid from Golden Equipment in the amount of $194,625. Is there any further discussion?
Craig, I commend you on, I know you've asked this for many years, so I'm glad we finally got it for you, hopefully, and I know you've patched these things together, what you've been using, so thank you for being patient, brother.
Yeah, I heard your old beater going down the street the other day from about 2 blocks away.
Yeah, it is. You done good with what you had, man.
Oh, brother. All right, with that, I'll call for the question, and all those in favor of accepting the bid from Golden Equipment, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. With that, we move on to item number 5. Item number 5 is a resolution approving updating the signature pages of the City of Vienna emergency plan to reflect the names of the current council members. If you all recall, a couple weeks ago, you all signed this particular sheet of paper listing you all as the current council members and recorder. With the approval this evening of this, it will then be presented to the county commission so that it can be recorded at the county level, and then our paperwork is updated to where it needs to be. So I'll entertain a motion for the resolution approving updating the signature pages of the City of Vienna emergency plan to reflect the names of the current members of council. And I have to say one more thing, I apologize. There were no changes to the emergency plan in itself. It's simply the signature page reflecting the current city council. All right? So now I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the updated signature pages.
So moved.
Seconded, Mr. Azinger? Okay, thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the updated signature pages. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then I'll ask for the question. All those in favor of the resolution approving the updated signature pages, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 7 this evening, item number 6, is an ordinance on first reading amending subsections. And Russ, I think I'm going to let you read this one tonight, okay? Ordinance number 6.
An ordinance amending 132503 District 1 area and yard regulations
to require a minimum of 900 square feet of habitable space on ground level set upon a permanent foundation. 132906, multiple dwellings and apartment houses to require a minimum of 900 square feet of habitable space on ground level set upon a permanent foundation. 132207 R3, single family and two family residential district with conditional uses to regulate the conversion, and I just noticed a spelling error there, of single family dwellings to duplex usage, amending the definition of dwelling unit is set out in 137103 of the subdivision regulations. There's about 4 different things that are happening in this ordinance that affect our zoning ordinances, and I put an explanation in there. But anyway.
And this is being forwarded to us from the Planning Commission. It is their recommendation that we adopt the changes in these 4 sections of our code. So I'll entertain a motion for the passing on first reading of an ordinance amending the particles that Russ mentioned in the ordinance. And so I'll entertain a motion for the approval of that ordinance on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the ordinance on first reading, amending the 4 different areas in the zoning code. Is there any discussion?
I just wanted to briefly point out, when in this planning commission meeting that Kevin and Dwayne took us through this. A part of this was to address some issues that have come up in Vienna, and the 900 square feet, is designed to make sure that we have solid fit in our community, but also with respect to the conversion of single or to duplex usage, they didn't prohibit it. It just now requires that it be brought, considered, and approved, so that because we have a lot of small houses in Vienna, but some of these larger houses, some of them wouldn't be suited for the type of conversion they're talking about, and some of them could be. And so I applaud the code enforcement to say we're not just prohibiting this and then you have to get a variance, but this conditional use can be brought, considered, and if in fact it does appear to be a fit project and the property is amenable to it, then it can move forward. So I thought it was just a good balance with respect to keeping our citizens able to use their property and invest and improve, and also to preserve the quality of our community.
Thank you.
So I just want to add to that, Jim. I totally agree with what you're saying. And this all came out of the property on 11th Street, which was converted and only had 1,300 square feet, which was not something that would probably amend itself well to being converted. But the biggest thing about this that I like is because it has to have a public hearing, and I think the neighbors on 11th Street would have really appreciated that. So this is a great solution that they've come up with, and I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the ordinance on first reading, amending section 1325.03, 1329.06, 1322.07, and 1371.03 of the Code of the City of Vienna, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. It will be back on the agenda on March the 11th. Okay, for second reading. All right, we move on to item number 7, which is a resolution. This resolution, and I'll read it. The resolution to increase the hourly wage for all sworn Vienna law enforcement officers in the amount of $2 per hour and the equivalent of a $2 per hour wage increase for the Vienna Police Chief, a salaried position, based upon a 2,080 hour work year and setting a starting rate for new law enforcement hires at $20 per hour. So I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution increasing the pay for our Vienna officers and the chief by $2 per hour.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Azinger, any comments this evening, sir?
I just think it's long overdue. I had available to me a study that showed that we had the lowest hourly rate among I think it was 12 or 13 other police departments in the area. And if we're going to recruit quality applicants and retain them, which is just as important, I think this is really a step in the right direction and shows the police department that we're behind them.
Thank you. Any other comments this evening?
Is this something that we're gonna be able to make it effective immediately? Do we have to add that in there, or, cause I like to see it, well, I think we have the money. I did some rough numbers. It costs the city, I think around $32,000 to add it, to this year's. I like to make it effective immediately.
It is effective passage
Okay.
upon this.
Good,
This will
okay.
come out of this year's budget, not for the next fiscal year,
Cool.
okay? Well, it'll be reflected with the next pay period.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Good.
I also had a question. The officers so the ones that are the next tier up, like they're not the first. Thank you. Yeah. So will their salaries also need to be increased so that they don't get passed up by this $2 increase, or is that
Every officer in
it
the
all goes
force
up
gets the
incrementally?
$2
Okay,
bump.
good.
All good.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I understood that.
All right. Okay, anything else? All right, then I'll entertain, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the resolution to increase the hourly wage for all sworn Vienna law enforcement officers in the amount of $2 and the equivalent of a $2 per hour wage increase for the Vienna Police Chief, a salaried position based on a 2,080-hour work year, and setting a starting rate for new law enforcement officer hires at $20 per hour, please signify by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Azinger, thank you with the help on drafting that, okay?
Yes.
There you go, Chief.
Keep patrolling Neil's school. I'm watching you. You're doing good. You guys are, I love it. Like I said, it makes my day, brother.
Oh, brother. All right, here we go. Item number 8 is a resolution adopting the 10 best practices for newly elected officials. This is the actual resolution, which was signed by the majority of council at a previous meeting. So I'd like to read this, and then we'll vote on its adoption so we can post it. This is a resolution adopting the top 10 best practices for newly elected officials. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'm going to run out of voice. Mr. Leach, would you mind doing that?
I'll read fast. Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Vienna that it hereby adopts the following top 10 best practices for newly elected, for that matter, all elected officials. Number 1, commit sufficient time to your office, but be mindful of the need for rest, body and mind. 2, learn as much and as quickly as you can about your municipal government, its operations by reading its municipal ordinances and reading the council minutes from the previous year. 3, understand the form of government for your municipality. Respect the roles and responsibilities of municipal officials and staff in the approved form of government. Number 4, realize that effective council operates as a team. Develop and maintain a positive working relationship with other municipal elected officials and staff. Number 5, voice your opinion on issues, defend your position. However, don't be disrespectful or engage in personal attacks. If you lose a vote, move on. Prepare for the next issue. Public decorum is the key to success. Number 6, don't make promises you cannot deliver alone. You have one vote, and a majority vote of council is necessary to accomplish anything. Number 7, avoid rushing to judgment. Make decisions based upon research and good public policy. You may hear from the vocal interests often, but remember, much of your constituency may not be as outspoken or passionate on the issue. Number 8, always act in an ethical and transparent manner. Respect the Open Governmental Proceedings Act. Do and say, emails and texts included, only what you don't mind reading above the fold in the newspaper. Number 9, remember that a majority vote establishes a policy position for your municipality. After the vote, respect and communicate the adopted position regardless of your individual position prior to passage. Number 10, communicate with fellow officials, staff, and your citizens.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution for the top 10 best practices for newly elected officials.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution. Is there any further discussion?
I have a question. This was on last month's agenda, and when it came up, Mayor, you said this was not city's business and this was an attitude, and that we would go ahead and pass it around. And if everyone signed it and it was unanimous, we would bring it back before council to have it as a resolution. So I was the only person who didn't sign that, because I don't really think that it is council business. I agreed with you last time that it's not something that should come before council. I don't disagree with the items that are on there. As a matter of fact, I could probably add a few more. But this was also approved by the prior council in 2018, and then it was forgotten. So, because of what you said the last time this was brought up, that if we had unanimous, approval of it, that we would pass we would bring the resolution forward. I don't know why it's here this evening, and for that reason, I didn't sign it because I don't think that it is council's business.
Okay, Kim, I apologize to you if you interpreted it that way. If you thought that I meant that if it wasn't unanimous, I wouldn't bring it back. This was actually brought forward by the city of Huntington. Mayor Steve Williams, I believe, drafted this thing, and it did come before the council in 2018. And I just, when I look around, I look at the people that are on this council, and I think we've got the beginnings of a good team. I think we've got people that are interested in actually making some progress towards city goals. And so it's just one of those things where it really isn't city business, but it's a feel-good thing that says that everybody that sits up here that is a member of this team, and it is a team, is going to pull the boat and then row the boat in the same direction and try to make things happen as efficiently for all the citizens of Vienna. So I'm sorry if you thought that it had to be unanimous before I would bring it back. I didn't mean to say that. If I did, or maybe it was misconstrued. But at any rate, that's the reason why it's back on the agenda this evening. I just think that everything, all 10 of these things that are in here, if every level of government, from the local level clear to the United States Congress, could try to get along and try to make the communities that you operate in better, that's the goal for every bit of government. And so that's my reasoning for doing this. I'm encouraged. I think that we've made some strides, that, there's going to be some new things that are tried and some things that are going to make the city better, some more input on things. And so I'm looking forward to it. Okay. So that's the reason why it's here. And if I recall last week, or whenever it was, 2 weeks ago, that you said there was something on there that you couldn't agree with, and it's your business, whatever it is. And if that was the reason about, whatever, I don't care. That's up to you.
So you did say that, and that's the reason I enjoyed hearing the top 10 things, and we discussed it, and I thought it was over because of what you said, that if it was unanimous, then we would bring it forth and, have a resolution. I just don't think that it was, like I said, I just don't think that it's a nice thing. It's just not something we should probably do. And that's why I didn't sign it. So it was predicated upon the fact of what you said. So that's why I didn't sign it. And that's what I was relaying to you when you asked me why I didn't, if I had an opportunity. What you did is you asked me if I had an opportunity to see it.
Yes,
and
I did. That's exactly what I said.
Yes, yes, sir.
I didn't want you to miss it because I wanted to make sure you got a chance to read it.
And I appreciate you being thorough, but that was my reasoning for not signing it.
Okay. And honestly, you know what? I believe in a democratic society. I swear to goodness, that's the truth. If no one else on council wants to support the resolution, it'll drop and I'll not do it again. But if the rest of the council feel like these 10 things are things that they want to work for, then by all means, I think it should come forward as a statement to our citizens that we do try to do the best job that we were elected to do. So, I respect your opinion. There's nothing says it has to be signed. And if council votes no, then we move on.
Sure.
Okay, so anyway, anything else?
Nope.
I think
Okay.
I just reinforced the point that it is council's business to decide if these are some guiding principles. It's a resolution. It's not an ordinance. It's not something that, and it is a lesson moving forward, and I've, committed to it. And I agree with what the mayor says, that some of the communication is better than I was kind of anticipating as we've gotten started as a team. So, I think that Kim is certainly entitled to voice her opinion. In fact, it's discussed in this. You voice your opinion, adhere to your judgment. If you lose the vote, move on. So I think it should be voted on, and it rises or falls with the vote.
Okay, anything else? All right, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the resolution adopting the top 10 best practices for newly elected officials, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries 4-2. The next items on our agenda, which are 9 through 16, are all members, item number 8, pardon me, doggone it. Item number 9 is a reappointment of Steve Eaton to the Vienna Utility Board. Items 10, 11 through 16 are all members of the Planning Commission. When I said a few moments ago that, things I think are going to be more efficient than they have been in the past, in going through some of the paperwork that we have, I realized that a lot of the appointments that we have on a lot of our boards are outdated. And so we've now started going back through all of the paperwork to see when people were appointed, how long their term is, when they expire, and we're going to try to keep ahead of this so we don't run into a situation where we are tonight, where we literally have 7 members of the Planning Commission whose terms have expired. And so the other thing is, one of the things that was asked was anyone that's being nominated for an office, that there be a brief bio on who they are and what their qualifications are. And so item number 9 is a resolution approving a reappointment of Steve Eaton to the Vienna Utility Board. Steve Eaton is employed by the Parkersburg Utility Board. I believe he's in a supervisory position down there. But Steve is also a licensed land surveyor, so he's excellent when it comes to right-of-ways and things like that. But he, as I said, is an employee of the Parkersburg Utility Board. He's also a contractor. He's built several homes in the city of Vienna, and so he's very familiar with a lot of the issues that come along with building a house. So I would recommend that we reappoint Steve to the Utility Board, and I will entertain a motion for the resolution approving the reappointment of Steve Eaton to the Vienna Utility Board.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we reappoint Steve Eaton to the Vienna Utility Board. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the resolution, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Items number 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 are the members of the Vienna Planning Commission. I'll give you a brief bio on each of those. Kelly Kraft is not on this list. Kelly was appointed a year ago, and so her term is still valid. The first gentleman that is on this is Craig Richards. Craig currently serves as the chairman of the Vienna Planning Commission. He is an engineer with Burgess and Nipel. He resides in Vienna and is an absolute asset when it comes to the code and the enforcement or the interpretation of our rules. So I would ask for a motion to approve resolution number 10, the appointment of Craig Richards to the Vienna Planning Commission.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we reappoint Craig Richards to the Vienna Planning Commission. Any discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 11, and I have to tell you that in the ordinance adopting the Vienna Planning Commission, there are certain slots that have to be filled on the Planning Commission by code. So item number 11 is the reappointment of Craig Metz to the City of Vienna Planning Commission. Craig is the representative because he is the Public Works Director, and he's in charge of all water and sewer items in the city. So I will entertain a motion for the reappointment of Craig Metz to the Vienna City Planning Commission.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we reappoint Craig Metz to the City of Vienna Planning Commission. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? Craig, you're reelected unanimously. Thank you for your service. Item number 12 is a resolution reappointing Barbara Joyce to the City of Vienna Planning Commission. Barbara Joyce is a citizen in Vienna. She has been on the Planning Commission for a number of years. She serves as the secretary for the Planning Commission, and she also serves on the Park Board. I'll entertain a motion for the resolution reappointing Barbara Joyce to the City of Vienna Planning Commission.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we reappoint Barbara Joyce to the City of Vienna Planning Commission. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of reappointing Barbara Joyce, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 13 is a resolution reappointing Carl Tanner to the City of Vienna Planning Commission. Carl Tanner has been a builder in the city for Vienna for 40 years, I would guess. He's very versed in zoning issues and what have you. And so I would entertain a motion for the resolution reappointing Carl Tanner to the City of Vienna Planning Commission.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution reappointing Carl Tanner to the City of Vienna Planning Commission. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of reappointing Carl Tanner to the City of Vienna Planning Commission, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 14 is a resolution reappointing Jamie Witkowski to the City of Vienna Planning Commission. Jamie Witkowski is a certified landscaped architect. Thank you. I was going to say artist. I knew that wasn't right. Anyway, she is extremely valuable when it comes to the city as far as the projects that we do. And so I would entertain a motion for the resolution reappointing Jamie Witkowski to the City of Vienna Planning Commission.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution reappointing Jamie Witkowski to the City of Vienna Planning Commission. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question then. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Resolution number 15 is the reappointment of Jim Sims to the City of Vienna Planning Commission. Jim Sims was an employee of the City of Parkersburg as an electrician for about 29 years, I believe. Mr. Sims is also the director of the Latrobe Street Mission, and he serves very faithfully on this board. So I would entertain a motion for the resolution reappointing Jim Sims to the City of Vienna Planning Commission.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution reappointing Jim Sims to the City of Vienna Planning Commission. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 16 is the last appointment, and it's a resolution reappointing Steve Middleton to the City of Vienna Planning Commission. Steve is a retired military officer. He is retired and lives on 40th Street in Vienna and serves the city in the Planning Commission. I will entertain a resolution reappointing Steve Middleton to the City of Vienna Planning Commission.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution reappointing Steve Middleton to the City of Vienna Planning Commission. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of reappointing Steve Middleton, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. We will not do that again. From here on out, they rotate every 3 years, and so you will only have to reappoint 3 at any given time. Okay. Item number 17 this evening is a discussion, and that was the council committee assignments for the year 21-22, which are subject to council approval. I wanted to give you a brief explanation as to why the people that were selected in the manner they were. Every year, I try to reach out to the various department heads and talk about the people that are on city council, and I just frankly ask them, who would you like to work with? And so, for some, it's very easy. Roger Bibby has been with the fire department as a fireman for over 40 years. And so he has a natural fit there because he is a fireman and he knows the needs of that. Mike Elam, athlete by trade. I think he's an outstanding role model for people, for children, young kids. And so that's the reason why that I picked Mike to do that. So if you go around the table, if I didn't have a specific one, then I would reach out and I would ask, are you interested in serving, as I did with Mr. Azinger, and ask Mr. Azinger if he would serve for the Vienna Police Department, and he has an interest in that. And Chief Pfeiffer was enthusiastic about Tom's help because Tom's very experienced, and so that is the reason why that was done. And so when I look down through the different things, the different appointments, I looked to Kim to be on the planning commission because all the interest that she showed in the issue that we had on 11th Street with the house, and I think that she takes a genuine interest in looking at those situations and making sure that the neighborhoods are good. And the other thing that I selected was the streetscape project because she owns a business on Grand Central Avenue, and we still have the 2 grants from the state that are there that we've never used. The state's behind on things because of COVID, but we still do have 2 streetscape grants where the intention is to redo Grand Central Avenue. And so that was the reason why that I thought Kim would be a good fix there because she obviously has an interest in what happens in front of her business. But, and having said that, I selected Mr. Leach to serve on the utility board because Mr. Leach has so many certifications and things, licensed contractor. He's run a large number of businesses. And anyway, I thought that, with Jim's experiences, in addition to his legal background, would be a good addition to the utility board. I know that we've had some controversy over some of these suggestions. And so I have no problem whatsoever. I know that Kim has expressed an interest in serving on the utility board. Right now, the ordinance that created the utility board specifies that there will be 5 members on the utility board. With council's approval, I'll make a motion at a future council meeting to increase the number of people on the board to 7. I mean, it's very rare that we ever get people that want to serve on some of these committees. And with Jim and Kim both wanting to be part of this, I have no problem whatsoever. 5 people, 7 people, it doesn't make any difference. I think we can still get great things done. So that's my explanation of where the council committee assignments came from. We're going to have to approve them at some point to get the boards and everything set up. So any questions for me about the logic or the formula behind this? Okay, great.
Well, now I was to ask, how does that work then? Because at the meeting in January, when Jim was not approved, how does that apply to him being appointed on here? Is that an override, or is this not on there anymore? Is it technically not there?
Those were my committee selections.
Okay.
All right. The fact that council voted that down means that Jim will not serve on the utility board.
Okay.
All right. Because it was council's decision of that. All I'm telling you all as council members is I really would like Jim's support on the utility board, to the fact that I have no objections whatsoever to increasing the number of people from 5 to 7 to serve on the utility board. So I understand that Kim has a desire to be on there. I have no objections to Kim being on the utility board. I just think that Jim's experiences and credentials, whatever, would be a great asset to the utility board. So, I don't care. I'm just telling you what, those are the things that I think will make the city run as efficiently and give the department heads the best help that we can get. All right? So my suggestion's right there. I mean, Mr. Azinger's never been approved for the police department. Mike's never been approved for the parks and Vienna Rec, but that's just to be done. All
So
right?
is this coming, so do each of those then come to the next council and we approve each of these, or is that what? Because it's just a discussion item at this point, but.
All right, there are two things.
Microphone.
Randy, with the exception of his discussion about Mr. Leach.
Microphone.
With the exception of his discussion about Mr. Leach being appointed to the utility board, the mayor has traditionally had the liaisons, if I'm correct. This is what you're talking about, are the liaisons. So the mayor each year decides who is going to be the liaison to the various departments. Mr. Elam's going to be the liaison to the Parks Department. Mr. Azinger is going to be the liaison to the Police Department, and so forth. The second issue is an appointment to the Utility Board. Mayor Rapp has indicated, at least as I understand it, that presently the composition of the Vienna Utility Board is 5 individuals. He is, and that's separate, that the liaisons that he's named do not have to be approved by council. That's just something that the mayors have traditionally done. When I started, Dave Noe did it, and I'm sure it was done before that. That was your person that if Mike had an issue and he wanted to deal with it, he could go to Councilman Azinger and talk to him about it, and Councilman Azinger would help him to voice whatever concern or need he had to the rest of council. Mr. Bibby with the fire department, Mr. Elam with the parks. Kim's now been appointed to, I guess, the beautification and treescapes, is that correct? Or tree?
That's the jobs I would like her to do, because Tree and Beautification actually asked for her and said that they thought she would be a good contributor. So
Right, to be the liaison. Now, that's who's the mayor is asking to serve as those liaisons. They don't have to be approved by council. They can elect to not do it, but they're not going to have, unless the mayor picks another department or something for them to do. There's no obligation that they be made the liaison. This is just the mayor that's one of the things that the mayor's done. And traditionally, the mayor has appointed himself as the public works liaison, which is what I understood the mayor is presently, and has been the public works liaison since actually before he was mayor, when he was the recorder. So those are all things that do not have to be approved by council. The only thing that would have to be approved by council that the mayor has brought up is, well, 3 things. Ms. Williams is filling the council position as representative on the utility board to become a voting member. The suggestion that the utility board be expanded from 5 members to 7, so that the mayor or whomever could appoint, or not appoint's not the right word, nominate Mr. Leach to also serve as the utility board. And then, of course, we'd have to find a third person because the council representative would be Ms. Williams, where she so voted, and so forth. So some of those things got a little conflated, but hopefully my explanation was unnecessarily long and thorough.
Can I ask a question? And I'm not trying to be disagreeable at all, but there is an ordinance around, it does require council approval for the planning commission, for the parks commission, for tree and beautification.
Those are different things. Those are appointments to serve as voting members on those boards. So if you
Okay.
want to be on the planning commission, you have to be voted on, nominated, voted on, and approved, just like we did with the other. If you want to be on the tree and beautification committee, you have to be nominated. Council has to approve you. If you want to be on the utility board, same thing. But those are actual voting positions on those boards. The liaison is something else. The liaison is just, you're essentially the representative of those departments. You're not a voting member of the board. You're not on the planning commission. You're not on tree and beautification and so forth, but you're a liaison to those groups. You're essentially their voice at council as it goes.
Okay, because that's very confusing. I've never heard
Yeah.
it explained that way before. I'm not doubting you, but, so my question is then, if a member of council was voted on for the planning commission, and then there would still be potentially a liaison member of council as well?
Well, there's a liaison. The liaison is for lack of a better term, a titular position. It's a title. It's just a person so that we all know who it is, but they're not technically a member of any of the boards. Like, if Mr. Azinger was the liaison to the police department, or you were the liaison to the public, or Parks and Rec, or however you want to say it. Well, actually, Mr. Elam's the Parks guy. Well, Mr. Elam is not a member of the Parks Department. He's just their voice on council. But if you want to be a voting member of any of those subcommittees, you have to be nominated and approved by council. Those are two different things.
So is it necessary then to have a liaison if you have a voted-in member? Because some of those, like the utility board, has to have a member of council.
Right, that's a different thing. If you want to be a voting member of the utility board, you have to be approved by council. If you want to be the liaison, Mr. Rapp says that you're the liaison. That just means that the utility board folks can talk to you, but you can't participate as far as being a voting member of the utility board.
So is that taking a vote away from the utility board? You still have
No.
to have 5 voting members?
You have to have presently 5 voting members.
Okay, so, okay.
Okay,
Wow.
Two different functions.
right, so, but in the ordinances surrounding the, like, for example, the planning commission, it is required that a member of council serve on that. So,
Yes,
okay,
that's correct. A member of council one
The-
of the utility board members has to be a member of council.
the same with the Parks Board. I know that Mr. Elam does vote in those meetings, so he's a voting member of the Parks Board.
Yes,
I assume, I don't know.
he is, yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
okay? And so, depending on what council's pleasure is, there is one opening that is left on the planning commission.
Right.
Okay? As I said, I would choose to put you on the planning commission, Kim, because of your interest. Mr. Leach serves there now. Okay? But if Mr. Leach comes over to the utility board, then I would take Mr. Leach off the planning commission and replace him with you. All right? So, you know, I'm trying to find a fit that you like with an interest in it, but that's the reason for that.
Oh, I
All right.
appreciate that. I'm just,
Now-
was just totally confused because I've never heard it explained this way before, and I've read the ordinances, and so that's why I'm confused about it. But, and I just want to say one other thing, just to manage expectations, because I do appreciate your confidence in me for the planning commission and also for the tree and beautification. But regarding the streetscape, because I do own a business right in the heart of, Vienna, that I would probably, well, I know I would, recuse myself from any discussions or votes regarding that streetscape. So I'm just putting it out there.
Well, I think if you learned more about the process that's involved in that, the Burgess and Knifel folks have already designed a lot of the stuff, and there was an issue with some of the businesses there that didn't want parking removed in
Right.
front of their businesses. But other than that, that grant, the 2 grants, are basically for lighting and some safety issues and
Right.
what have you. But at any rate, whether you vote or you don't vote, it really wouldn't make any difference. The project needs someone to lead it, to make it move forward. And I know that because you do have an interest in Grand Central Avenue, that it seemed to me to be a good fit, that you would like to improve the business area on Grand Central. So, I respect your right to say, I don't want to vote on this because there may be some misconceptions, but I just, we've had those grants now for, I'm going to guess, 4 years, and we've not moved forward. We've got to the design stage, and so the money's still sitting in Charleston. So anyway, that's my answer for that. It's not a matter of voting or whatever. It's for someone to move the thing off dead square, okay?
Okay.
Can you also clarify for me, so Jim and I are both the liaisons to the finance department? How are our roles different? Do we need to?
You are just, the ordinance says that you and I will both serve, the mayor and the recorder serve, okay? And Mr. Leach has been the chairman now for, I don't know, a long time. And so he is the designee for the finance committee,
Okay.
all right?
So in essence, I don't have an assignment because I'm automatically assigned to this.
Correct, you are. Yes,
So I don't need to worry about being a liaison to anybody because I'm already on the
correct,
committee. Okay.
yes.
Well, my question is to you, Kim, what do you want to do?
Well, I mean, I'm here to serve in whatever capacity I can. I go to all these meetings regardless, but I mean, the utility board, I've expressed my interest in that, but I'll serve. Heck, if it's up to me, I'd be on all of them, right? Because I like it, but, you know, wherever I can serve.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'll present a slate and then we'll go from there. How about that?
Nice.
Does that work? Okay, thank you all. There's a couple things on here then. Item number 19 is a resolution approving the reappointment of me as Randall Rapp to the Vienna Utility Board. By ordinance, that's the way it's designed, so I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution reappointing Randall Rapp to the Vienna Utility Board.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution reappointing Randall Rapp to the Vienna Utility Board. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, and I am recusing myself since it's me. I'm not going to vote for myself. So the motion carries 5-0. Kim, item number 20 was the approval of you to the utility board. Would it be all right with you if I pull that off and you and I have a conversation?
Well, I would actually prefer to go forward. I know one of the big things that was holding it up was we had some legal things that we had to work through. One of which was being if there was a conflict of interest because of the $50 that members received to serve on that board. And, you know, I had submitted a statement to Recorder Elam that says, I hereby affirm that if appointed to serve as Vienna City Council representative to the utility board, I will not accept any compensation related to that position. So I would prefer to go forward.
That's fine. That was a yes or no. You didn't have to, yes or no is fine. We're good.
Thank you.
Item number 20 this evening is a resolution approving Kim Williams to the Vienna Utility Board. I'll entertain a motion for the resolution approving Kim Williams as a Vienna City Council appointee to the Vienna Utility Board.
Mayor, before we do that, we had
Jim,
item 18.
excuse me, point of order.
I know, but you skipped an item on the agenda that's relevant to this, number 18.
Well, you can do it as soon as we make this, and then you can say your piece.
Okay.
Jim, I'm sorry, I thought I covered the utility board, okay? Let me go back, but let me go. We're procedurally in this now, okay?
Okay.
All right. So I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution approving Kim Williams to the Vienna City Council as the Vienna City Council appointer to the Vienna Utility Board.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Leach, discussion.
So the issue with respect to compensation, and I want to go back and I addressed this in a document I submitted to council. You know, I recused myself from the discussion, and the city attorney mentioned that I should, and that was fine. I talked to Kim about this afterward, you know, and with the respect of, you know, not taking the $50 per meeting, I mean, that's not a problem. I didn't even know there was $50, okay? But when council voted, you know, again, I wasn't present, but I went back because I was curious to listen, was there any discussion? Kim has been, and all the time leading up to her election, and since then, a big proponent of transparency. The mayor recommended me for this position. I had talked with Craig and I had agreed to do it. You know, I spent 4 years on council with that experience. Also 4 years with the Manville project. You know, that's within sight. We're within budget. So really, what I'm asking, and of course it's an ask, you know, the reasoning, I don't understand necessarily. You know, the stormwater issues in the city of Vienna, Pond Run, you know, the regs, everything is going to be involved in moving that project forward, in the engineering study that was discussed at the utility board meeting. I'm just curious what led other members of council to decide that, you know, because the requirement in the utility board says of outstanding qualifications. And with all due respect to Kim, she doesn't have any experience in these areas with respect to just what goes on. But I don't doubt she'd work hard. okay? But so I just want to give you an opportunity, if you're willing to put on the record, because I'd like to understand what it is that caused you to think that, based on the record on council of what's gone forward. And also, that's point one. And then number two is a level playing field, okay? Kim has asked Russ to develop this. She's basically asking that she be permitted to self-appoint, as I understand your
No.
position. So
No,
are you going to recuse yourself from this vote?
no, I don't
Okay,
have
so,
to.
well, okay, so that's what I mean by level playing field. I do ask that this be tabled, that there be an opportunity to consider either increasing the board to 7 and/or giving me an opportunity to participate in a vote, just as Kim's going to be. And then I'm going to go back to the guidelines we just discussed. Once I say my piece and you vote, I'm done with it. Okay, and we'll move on. But we're here to serve the people of Vienna. And I think the people of Vienna are entitled to understand why council feels that I'm not qualified to serve on this utility board. Because, let's face it, it was a job interview, and I put my resume down, and no disrespect again. But I don't think there's anything that would say that I'm not qualified to assist the city in moving forward, especially with what's going on with Pond Run. I mean, we're going to have several agencies involved in that. Going to be regulations, and so that's what I have to say about that.
Okay, since you mentioned me quite frequently in your statement, first thing you said was about transparency. Nobody up here who votes for anything has to debate and say why they're voting for something or against something, okay? So I think when you say it's not being transparent, that's a manipulation of that term, and that's not accurate. So you also said that there were qualifications. There are qualifications to be on the Vienna Utility Board. You have to be a duly elected member of this council, which I am, and you are as well. I have attended every single Vienna Utility Board meeting for 2 years. I go, I ask questions, I research things, had an opportunity to spend some time with the Public Works Director. I've toured all the wells, the sewer, the water tanks. I went to the garage on 60th Street to get a overview of how that works and everything. And I feel that I have a very good handle on what is going on at the Vienna Utility Board. No, I do not have a master's degree in environmental law, but I've been doing the work for 2 years. And I'm sorry, I don't appreciate your comments, and I did not manipulate anything. There was some confusion around the whole thing, in which I reached out, other people reached out to Mr. Skogstad and got clarification on everything. And because I am not taking compensation, I'm able to vote for myself this evening, and I intend to.
My only response to that is, with respect to transparency and explaining reasoning, I do believe that you did, when it came to public comment with respect to citizens, did criticize the lack of any and I know several people did, and if I misremember you, then forgive me, but it's a part of the record. So other than that, I don't have any response.
All right, so, Mr. Leach, you mentioned in your comments about requesting this to be tabled. Is that your desire?
It is.
Would you please make that in the form of a motion?
Yes, so I'd move that this issue on the appointment of the utility board be tabled until it can be considered contemporaneously with either increasing the size of the utility board and/or, I want an opinion from the city attorney whether I'm entitled to be considered under the same circumstance as she is, which is the ability to self-appoint, basically.
Okay. Because I would like to see the board expanded to 7 members instead of 5, I'm going to second your motion to table this. We'll see what council's pleasure is on this. I would like to get an answer from Russ as far as the questions that you've raised, and possibly rewrite the ordinance so that we can increase the number. you know, I have no problem whatsoever with you and Kim both serving, and it's, you know, we'll happily find another person to make this 7. But having said that, there's a motion on the floor to table this to the next meeting for further information. And so with that, is there any other comments? And I'll call
just
for a
say
vote.
this,
I'm
Mayor,
sorry?
I think it's been fully, you know, debated. All that information, Mr. Skogstad's opinion is in the Dropbox. I've read it. I'm sure everybody else has read it. So I just want to say that it seems like we just keep stalling this appointment. And I mean, you know, if you want to change the ordinance on the utility board, I will remind everybody here that that's a 75% approval. So it's going to require 6 out of 7 people to do that. Not saying that that's not possible, but I don't see where one has to do with the other, and we could just move forward tonight. So I'm not in favor of tabling.
Okay, well, you then vote no.
Yeah.
I mean, that's simple.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments? So the motion on the floor is to table this discussion until the next meeting. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? Okay, so it fails. We go back to the resolution as presented then. The resolution is the approval of appointing Kim Williams to as the Vienna City Council appointee to the Vienna Utility Board. Is there any further discussion? All right, I'll call for the question then. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion fails. Kim, you are appointed to the next utility board. We will make sure you get all the information.
Thank you very much.
All right. So we move on. Item number 21 is a resolution changing the start time of the regular and special Vienna City Council meetings from 7 p.m. to 6 p.m. It's pretty straightforward what it is. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution changing the start time of the regular and special Vienna City Council meetings from 7 to 6.
So moved. Did I,
Second.
do we have a second?
Second?
Second.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution changing the start time from 7 to 6. All those in favor?
Wait, is there discussion?
Yes, ma'am. Discussion.
Okay, I'm not opposed to it. My life is very flexible, and I'm more than willing to do whatever. But I do want to mention this to everyone. This issue came up in Parkersburg a couple years ago, and they didn't end up doing it because at 6 o'clock is the same time that WTAP is on the air, and they will not send a reporter here to cover us with the news camera. So I just want everybody to know that.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor of changing the starting time from 7 p.m. to 6 p.m., please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Before we move on, just one suggestion. Our ordinances are going to continue to reflect a 7 o'clock start time. At some point, if this goes well, it would probably behoove council to make a formal permanent change to the ordinances so that if folks look up the time in the ordinance books, they're not confused. But for our purposes now, this does what you're needing to do.
Believe it or not, the last item on our agenda this evening is an ordinance on first reading setting forth and adopting rules governing the public comment portion of the Vienna City Council meetings. Mr. Skogstad.
You want me to read the whole thing?
However you want to explain it, sir.
All right. This is an ordinance setting forth and adopting rules governing the public comment portion of Vienna City Council meetings. And we're on second reading. After our last meeting, there was a motion to remove paragraphs 13 and change some of the language. And it's neither one of these.
Do you need another do you need like this?
Let me see if it's,
copy?
yes, yeah.
This is.
Okay, yeah, let me see if it's on here. Thank you. Yeah, this, we'll just go with this. In the first draft from the first meeting, and I'm not gonna read the entire thing, but paragraph 13 and the 6 subsections of paragraph 13 were amended and changed. I went back and tried to review, or I looked at the minutes, and I went back and tried to write this sentence in a way that reflected what the minutes said, although it is not verbatim what was recorded in the minutes. So this is the same motion, or the same ordinance as before, but with that change. And the change is in the permanent record of public comments. It was amended to read, the recording of all public comments are to be performed by the city recorder and are to include either the verbatim statements or an accurate summation thereof of the statements and or comments of all public speakers in the official minutes. So everything else remains the same. So, there you go. Well,
I'll entertain a motion on first reading for the adoption of the ordinance setting forth and adopting rules governing the public comment portion of the Vienna City Council meetings.
When you're done with that, I'll take it back.
I'm sorry?
When you're done with that, I'll take it back.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve on first reading the ordinance setting forth and adopting rules governing the public comment portion of the Vienna City Council meetings. Is there any discussion?
I have 3 amendments I'd like to make, if I may.
You must make them one at a time.
can I have one of these to make notes on?
Kim, you have to speak into the microphone with the mask. I can't hear you. Is it on?
Yep, turn it back on the bottom.
Chris, is it also possible to zoom in on that so we can read it better from here?
Testing, testing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ah, yes, much better.
I can zoom all the way into one letter if you want.
No, thank you. That's,
Don't get crazy.
There you go.
I have horrible eyes these days, so the one thing we amended, 13 on, and when this came before council before, we discussed, but although it didn't happen, that the public comments shall be heard after the call to order for Vienna City Council meetings, and thus shall be part of the official record. That is the amendment I would like to make, which is just adding that sentence there that's bold in a bigger font and in the parentheses. That's the amendment I would like to make. I think if we don't make that amendment, what then happens is public comments do not start before the call to order, so this council or any other council moving forward can decide not to have a public comment period. So I think that's important that we have the public comment period, and then the rest of it, that, all the comments be recorded be jotted down by the recorder.
All right, so that's your first amendment. Let's do that sentence there. Please make the motion to amend it.
Okay, so, public comments shall be heard after the call to order for Vienna City Council meetings, and thus shall be part of the official record.
All right, that's the amendment that Kim's put forth. Is there a second?
second.
It's been moved and seconded that we amend the ordinance as presented to include that sentence. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor of the amendment, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you. Number, I guess that's 7. It says the time for public comment shall not exceed 5 minutes per speaker unless more time is granted by the presiding officer. I would like to strike presiding officer and make the amendment that by the majority of council. So, if the council so desires to extend somebody's time. It gives the council the ability to do that.
Would you do that in the form of a motion, please?
I move that, that we strike the preceding officer and replace it with the majority of council.
It's been moved that we amend this ordinance to include that sentence. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, then I'll call for the question, or excuse me, is there any discussion on this item? The only comment that I have to say about that is, if we have an agenda like we have tonight where we have 22 items, if you extend that time period out, all you do is you add a lot to the meeting. And I know that, you know, we're here to do the city business, but sometimes after 2 hours, it gets a little long. And so, if there's nothing on the agenda where we're going to be out of here in, you know, half an hour or whatever, we usually let them go anyway because it's just information. All right? And so I'm going to vote no against your amendment because I don't believe that in the flow of the meeting that it should be that complicated to say, look, light agenda, okay, long agenda, no. And so I'm going to vote no on your amendment on that, Kim. All right?
Yeah, well, good. Well, the only thing I would say, you know, I mean, in my experience, governing bodies have a presiding officer, and you know, our mayor is the administrator and presides over council, and controls the flow. In addition to what the mayor's comments were, then we're going to have to stop, take a vote, have a discussion, and so I agree. You know that I think, you know and I'm going to harken back to what he's not here tonight, but what Roger Bibby said. And I don't know what's going to happen with this, with the recorder, Melissa, in terms of now you're charged with deciding what's going to go in the minutes, and then if somebody wants to come and argue about it versus them having to record, which I felt was, I quite frankly felt was a better procedure. But I mean, that's fine. It's going to be your job. But you know, again, just these amendments kind of keep taking order away, so to speak. And giving additional opportunity to dispute it. And I don't think it is the official business, like Roger said. It's you know, you know, we were elected to serve. We have responsibilities, and with that comes some rights. The general public has the right, because it's been granted, to make public comments, you know, but it still has to be managed. So I think that that this should be governed by the presiding officer in decision, which in my experience in 4 years has, you know, typically been freely granted unless there's been some reason specifically not to.
Well, the only other, just as a follow-up for Mr. Leach, the only thing that causes me a concern about that is, if you're going to do that, every person that signs up on that sheet to speak, you're going to have to poll them and say, how long do you need to talk? Okay? And if they come in here and they say, well, it's important, I need 15 minutes, all right? So the people that are on there that say, I can do this in less than 5, we're good, you're going to add a whole nother step to this thing that it's just going to be very cumbersome for council, and it's the start of the meeting. So that's my comments. What?
Well,
It still has the 5-minute limit though, right? I mean, that's.
No, not according to her.
hold on.
No, what she's
No.
asking for is to change the time limit based on council. So you're going to have to take a vote every time that someone wants to speak over the 5-minute limit.
So, to be clear, I think, it's generally not an issue that people speak over 5 minutes. Somebody, if that would happen, the council can just decide whether or not they want to allow that person to speak a few more minutes, add 2 more minutes to their whatever.
You're gonna stop the meeting and take a vote before you allow that person to continue to talk. It's gonna be a huge interruption in the process.
Well, I might agree with you if, I'd seen that happen before, but I see it happen in Parkersburg. I've seen that happen many times. They take a vote, it just takes a few seconds. It's over and done with. Sometimes when people get up here, they don't necessarily, they wanna ramble, and so I've seen council not, approve for them to speak longer. Sometimes people come up and they have something very significant to say, and so council wants to go ahead and hear the rest of it, so they'll approve a few more extra minutes. You know, this whole thing has been going on for 2 years now, to get really what the public wants regarding the public forum. This amendment's come out of listening to the public, because the public, I get calls, I hope the rest of you all get calls about it. And this is why I'm making these amendments. So if it makes our meeting go a little bit longer, so be it. I'll be here as long as we need to be here to get the people's business done.
All right, any other comments?
No, man, that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I don't care if I'm here for a half hour or 4 hours. I mean, I took this position. The people voted me in. Obviously, they wanted me here. So that's me. I'm here till the business is done. I don't want to put a time limit on how long we're here every Thursday, every other Thursday. I mean, we're here till we're done. I mean, that's just how business goes. I mean,
All right, anything else? And I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the amendment to allow the time limit to be extended by council, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? Motion carries. All right, Kim, what's your third one?
Okay, third and final one. The total time, this reads, it's number 8, the total time limit for public comment portion of any proceeding shall not exceed 30 minutes. And so I would like to amend that to say, unless more time is granted by the majority of council. It just kind of goes back to what we were just talking about. You may end up with a situation where we have a topic that there's a lot of passion about, and we want to make sure that we hear everybody that we can. If you have 30 minutes allotted and everybody speaks for 5 minutes, then you're going to get 6 speakers. And so, while some people may not really want to hear what people say, I do. So that's why I'm making this amendment. So it's just like the first one. So the total time limit for the public comment portion of any proceeding shall not exceed 30 minutes unless more time is granted by the majority of council.
And that's your motion?
Yes, sir.
All right. The motion on the floor is to extend the time from 30 minutes to the majority of council decision. All right, is there a second?
second.
It's been moved and seconded that we amend the ordinance to extend the time from 30 minutes to whatever council approves, if that's the vote. Is there any discussion? All right, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the amendment to extend the time, if necessary, by council vote, please signify by raising your right hand. All right, all those opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. So the 3 amendments are now in the ordinance setting forth and adopting rules governing the public comment portion of the Vienna City Council meetings. Mr. Skogstad, 3 amendments. Is that a material difference that we have to?
No, I don't think that's the
All right.
3 amendments are not material amendments
Correct.
resulting in an additional.
All right, I didn't want that to be an issue. So we have ordinance setting forth and adopting rules governing the public comment portion of Vienna City Council. Is there any further discussion on the ordinance on first reading as amended? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the ordinance setting forth and adopting rules governing the public comment portion, please signify by, as amended, on first reading, please signify by raising your right hand. Okay. All those opposed? All right. Motion carries 4-2. It'll be on the council meeting for March the 11th for second reading. All right. With that, that concludes our agenda this evening. Council comments, please. Tom, I'm going to make a quick one and I'll get you out of here. Go ahead, Jim, if you got
No, I
something.
was just going to say congratulations, police department.
Okay, so I have a quick council comment. As was brought up earlier, I did notify you all that we did receive the FLAP grant. There is some paperwork that has to be done, and we're proceeding to get that submitted now. But at any rate, we're now moving forward with some of the projects that are in Spencer's Landing, and so we're going to have to start working on the master plan to get things positioned in the right place before we start. So please be prepared that we need to get moving on that because, that grant is a very nice addition to the city and will provide a great accessibility for our citizens. So with that,
Hold on, before we adjourn the meeting, I just want to make sure that I'm clear on something. With respect to the public comment ordinance, we already had a hearing the first reading on that on, I think, January 28th, correct?
It was the first reading, but because of the amendments, I believe it was so significant, I was thinking that it was.
No, my opinion is those aren't, the changes weren't material changes, the public comment.
From the first time.
From first reading, the second reading with the amendments that we have in total, my opinion is that the ordinance is passed and is in effect.
Okay.
I have no problem with that.
Okay.
Is there any
Okay.
council member that wishes to raise an objection?
Mm-mm.
If not, then we'll consider that second reading,
Okay.
and the ordinance will be in effect as of the next meeting.
Thank you,
All right.
Liz.
Okay? All right. Meeting adjourned.
I just need to get
I
a
hope you
clean
feel
copy
better, Tom.
for